Okay, so welcome everybody. My name is Lisa Reynolds, and I'm an assistant professor of digital design and media art here at Wilkes University. And today I am lucky enough to be sitting down with the man, the myth, the legend, Danny Devito, class of 2020, not the short, old one, the young, tall one. Danny, as I said, is a recent graduate, graduated from our program in 2020 and is just starting his brand new position as digital designer at Fox Sports out in LA. So we just wanted to talk a little bit with Danny about some of the work he does, how he started doing it, why he does it, and like why we're great here at Wilkes. Okay. All right, so obviously, it's going to be obvious to anyone watching that we obviously know each other. I was Danny's teacher for many years and friend now. But I don't actually know the answer to this question. What did you do like in high school that led you to this major? Like what got you here?
So high school, I started off wanting to become an engineer, and I quickly realized I didn't like all the math. So I quit that and then just kept playing football and going through high school. And then during football, I started like photoshopping during my free time. So I started messing around with that, not really thinking like, oh, I want to be a graphic designer. But, some people liked what I was doing. So college came around and I was like, well, I guess that's my major now. So I decided to go to Wilkes. I have a lot of family around the area. So I didn't go to high school around here. I went to high school in Maryland. So that's how I know about Wilkes-Barre. My family lives around here.
So you started out, I started out not dissimilarly, not entirely knowing maybe fully what graphic design was when I started majoring it in college. And I think I can definitely trace back the moment when I sort of fell in love with it. And it sort of hit me where I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely something I want to move forward in. So like, when was that for you?
I would say it wasn't even before I got here. I would say it's like, well, actually, no, I would say like when I was making those like sports things, I loved making things look better. Like I loved being able to like take my idea and say, hey, this is how it should be. So I would say I loved it before I got to Wilkes. And then once I got to Wilkes, I realized you could actually earn money doing that. So I was like, wow, that's like, if I could do this every day, like that'd be awesome.
Right.
So
you said you got your sort of start in doing sports stuff. Like when you say sports stuff, tell everyone watching what you mean by that. Like what kind of things do you make for sports that are design related?
So when I started, I was in high school, I was making like schedule posters and they were like pretty bad because at that point I didn't even have like a typography education. So I just like did whatever. But like now I do like logos. I do mostly social media stuff. Like I would say my strongest thing is sports social media stuff. So if you go on like Twitter, Instagram, and you see teams posting graphics and content, even down to like how they post and when they post, I do that too. So it's more than just going in Photoshop and making a guy have like fire come out of his eyes. It's like carefully creating the content for these teams.
That's a really interesting thing that you bring up, because I think so much of what we do now has moved into the realm of like digital content creation. It's sort of out of just, it's print, it's web, it's this, and
especially
into these.
Today.
Yeah. So now it's sort of all going to at some point be digital content on some level. So like, talk to me about how you react to how it behaves. So you mentioned it really quickly, and I think that deserves to be sort of expounded on. I mean, we're the ones that are making the things. And typically it's been marketing people who have examined the behavior of creative and decided what was working, what wasn't, and why. And I do feel as though, but because the designer is now the content creator, we're getting a little bit more insight into what's not working and why. So can you tell me a little bit about that and what you learned and why that's important and how that affects your work?
I can't speak to like running a full digital campaign somewhere. I would say I could speak more to like social media.
Yeah.
There's a couple times where I would actually operate the social media too. And you just kind of have to learn like the cadence of the platforms and what to say and like the inside jokes and what does better. what does better at 9 a.m., what does better at night.
So time of day matters.
Time of day really matters. Like you
Okay.
don't post your biggest content on a Sunday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay.
Even though you might have finished it at Sunday, you wait until it's optimal and you know people are looking at the platform.
What are the time? Like, what's the optimal time to post something?
Mondays, 9 a.m. people are looking at social media.
Really?
Even if, yeah, it's like, I don't know, like you kind of think of it like the Super Bowl. People spend money. They post on the Super Bowl for a reason because that's where all the eyes are.
Right.
You don't just post on social media when you know nobody's there. And there's weird times where it would like good content will work no matter what. But if you combine that with a good time, it really takes off.
Right. Right. So you mentioned typography, which yay, because I teach typography, so yay. But what are a few skill sets that you learned that you were surprised to know you needed? Like what were you like, oh man, I'm you're rocking out in Photoshop, you're doing your thing, and then you learned one specific skill set and it just sort of opened up your world.
Other than typography, guys, would be the number one. Like if you don't understand typography, I want to say you can't be a designer, honestly. It's such I would say it's like more than half the job, honestly. Other than that, I would say time management.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm way better than I was even a couple months ago. I'm on a routine. I have like apps I use to stay organized. It's really important, and it's not cliche to be organized and on top of your game.
It's almost necessary. Like
it's not. You can't do it without it.
Okay, and this is a very jargony question, but that's okay, because there's going to be some people who actually know what we're talking about. What is the most amount of layers that you have ever had in like a Photoshop document, for instance, like a design that you've made? Like what's the biggest number?
I actually know people who, like in Photoshop, you can toggle it to tell you the layers instead of file size. I don't do that, but I'm sure if I look, it's like a couple hundred.
Couple hundred?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, it's like a lot of overlay, like little things, but yeah, a couple hundred.
Wow. So as you guys, audience, as you guys learn Photoshop and learn about what that means, you think back on this and be like, holy moly, hundreds of layers. Like that's bananas. Okay, so what did you learn at Wilkes specifically? Like, why do you think that our program has prepared you better?
Again, typography. I took 2 of those classes. Those are my favorite for design. But I would say like the major as a whole taught me that, when I started, I wanted to do just like sports digital stuff, and that's basically what I still do. That's my main thing, but I'm prepared to do more than just that.
Tell us a little bit about why you feel your education at Wilkes and the Wilkes program maybe was a little bit different and maybe prepared you a little bit better for your work.
Like I mentioned, like the typography is my favorite, but like I feel like that's the biggest thing I learned from the program. But other than that, like it's more than just like traditional graphic design, whereas like you can obviously focus in that. Like I feel like we all come out with strong graphic design portfolios for the most part, with the exception of like some video people, but it teaches you to just be like passionate about being a like professional creative.
What does
like
that mean?
Designer. So it's like it's such a like new loose term that I see people using. But I would say there's a definitive shift. I don't know, you and Steve and Eric probably agree too. Like there's a definitive shift in my career at one point where I was like this strong sports designer, but then at one point I just wanted to like be obsessed about being a creative in every aspect of the word. Like I picked up new skills like left and right my senior year. Like I think I learned like 3 or 4 new things, like skills. I should list them for the people listening.
Well, what did you learn?
Photography. Like these are all things before my senior year I didn't even like really care about. But it was like photography, which means like not just picking up your smartphone and shooting, like it was like picking up your actual camera and learning how to expose and the
Right.
lighting and how to interact with your clients and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had motion design, After Effects. That's the biggest one I learned. And then I also learned a little bit of it beforehand, but I actually coded my website, and then did a lot of UI, UX design projects during the year. So,
Yeah.
I was obviously still focused on sports and doing that freelance, but I really like Wilkes' program because it puts an emphasis on learning more than just what you want to do.
So you landed at Fox Sports, which I'm super psyched about, obviously, as your teacher. But you interviewed a few places, and you've worked,
I did,
I think, and you've worked with a few NFL teams and some fairly, high-profile clients. Why are you like? I'm glad you landed at Fox. I'm glad you landed at a place that is giving you a little bit more diversity in your projects. But why did you pick it? Why did you decide like this is where I'm going to plant my flag?
Not only is it like a huge place to like work on all the sports, but I really like the people there.
Yeah.
I know about 5 or 6 of them already.
Okay.
And I always told people going into the senior year, like I know I was going to get, I mean, obviously we all knew we were going to get jobs. We had a really strong class. But I told people I would prioritize the people over the brand. Like,
yeah,
you could always have a cool logo on your resume that you worked at, but like, do you care about your work, and are the people there fun to work with? And it's not always going to be like that, but hopefully the goal is you can visit and know that like the culture you're walking into is a fun place to work. So yeah, I already knew that culture I was going into. So I was like really, I said it in the post. I was ecstatic when they said that I'd be working with them.
Me too. What like you mentioned that you knew some of the people that work there already, and as I said, you have done some work for some pretty high profile clients. Can you talk to us a little bit about your path to doing this kind of work before you graduated? Like, what sort of was the catalyst? How did you start doing it?
Twitter. If you're not on Twitter, go right now and make a Twitter. Like, I know LinkedIn is looked at as like the end all be all for networking in a lot of ways. And I'm not saying don't have a LinkedIn. I have LinkedIn, but I think Twitter is by far the king of networking for creative people, and Instagram too. But I prefer Twitter. Just how fast it is and the ability to make like genuine connections. So the catalyst, or like my path, you said, I like to think I'm good at design, but I like to think I'm also very good at networking. And my thing with networking is like, I mentioned LinkedIn. To me, networking isn't going on someone's page and just saying, hey, clicking a button saying, hey, well, let's network. I think networking is like going on Twitter and actually like building connections with these people and actually caring about them more than just their work. So I would say that's the key to networking, honestly, is like, yeah, to a degree, you're just following each other and kind of hitting that connect button. But if you actually build these connections with people, that's
like actually like, interact with them on Twitter.
Yeah,
like,
it's like talk to them more than just about their work. Like, what do they do? And like, I did a lot of Zoom over the quarantine with people. Just like actually get to know them and care.
All right. So you just mentioned that you have been doing a lot of Zooming during quarantine, and you've had the unique experience of graduating and interviewing and entering a job market in this really weird kind of situation. So, obviously we know it takes a lot more work and it takes a lot more diligence, but what about like person to person stuff? What, if you find yourself in a room, with a lot of creative professionals, what do you do? How do you overcome being scared to go up and talk to somebody? Because that's a scary thing, I think.
Yeah. I should have mentioned in the last question, like it's also very important to take not advantage, but like in a way, take advantage of your opportunities of people around you. You never know who's going to help you. Try to be open and connect with as many people as you can in person, even if it's on a local level, or like, for example, I went to a conference in Atlanta with a lot of, like you said, creative professionals, was all these people that I like looked up to coming up as a sports designer. And it was a little hard to not be, like, a little scared going into it. But,
Sure.
luckily, like I said, you build these connections, you kind of already feel like you know them in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You have
So
an icebreaker. You can be like, oh yeah, I'm the guy on Twitter.
we like would literally walk up to so many people like, oh my God, it's like so crazy to see you in person. And it was honestly like the coolest like experience ever. But yeah, like just don't be picky with networking. Try to like genuinely build connections though. I just don't hit a button. That's what I would say.
Do you share your work online?
I do a lot.
You. Okay. So that's scary, I think, to a lot of people. I think that's something a lot of
It's
people aren't comfortable with.
a big hurdle.
Why is it important though? Like obviously you think it's important because you do it. Why do you think it's important?
Especially if you want to like go somewhere and work. Like if you don't want to like stay home or stay in the local area,
Mm-hmm.
you can't expect for people across the country to care about your work if they've never seen it
Right.
until you go to interview. So I do share a lot of my work. Obviously, like I have a website, and I feel like that's like the biggest and best projects I do. But I use Twitter and Instagram kind of like a live portfolio in a way. Like this is what I'm working on today. And like recently I did a podcast branding, and I'm not going to build out a whole section on my website for that, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm still very proud of like the product I helped my friend make. So I'll tweet about it, see if people like it. You never know if someone's on there looking for someone to do their podcast. So
Right.
that's kind of the mindset I have is like, just get your work out there. Another thing I like to think of is like, nobody's going to care about your work across the country, like LA,
Mm-hmm.
for example, if people in LA have never seen your work
Yeah.
until you go to hit apply. So if they already know you and know your work, it's a pretty good advantage when you go into trying to get a job.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't hurt that you have a really recognizable name.
Yeah, you don't miss my name on Twitter. Yeah.
No, but
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
could definitely
listen,
get
everyone has an advantage somewhere, right? Like you just got to
right.
use what
Yeah,
you got.
you got to play your advantages always.
All right. It doesn't have to be one of mine. I won't be mad. I swear to God. But what was your favorite class of all 4 years? And it could be outside of the major. It could be it's somewhere else that you just felt like you had a really amazing connection or something. Like what was your favorite class all 4 years?
It's honestly one of your type classes.
You didn't
It
have to say
definitely
that,
is.
but I love that you did.
Not even just what we learned, but like the people in it and what we did.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think we always try hard to kind of mimic a studio environment, like a really
Hmm.
collaborative studio environment. Did you find that was the case, and did that help you?
Yeah, those ones didn't really feel like class. I don't know if that's gonna hurt you or not, but it felt like if it honestly just felt like we were hanging out learning typography
Yeah.
as like geeky as sounds.
Listen, that's where you geek out at college. You geek out over
Mhm.
the stuff that you enjoy at college.
Right.
Um, all right. So someone is looking for a creative career. They're
Hmm.
looking to become a designer or a motion artist or an animator or something sort of creative related. Do you have any advice, programs to look at, classes to take, characteristics about a school that you think would be helpful for them?
I would say like first you need to identify if you're a big school or a small school person. I
Hmm.
think that's important to know. And if you don't know, then try to visit both. I thought I was both and ended up settling on a small school. So I would say look at like, the type of equipment they have. Nowadays, it's a little less important. Even when I was in school, for the most part, we all had our own laptops. But going forward, you're definitely going to probably need your own machine with like, how um, the regulations and whatever are for the current situation.
Hmm.
Um, so equipment, software, like know what you need to do the job. And then just like the kind of culture they have there, I think is important, even for both big and small schools. Smaller school is going to give you like more one-on-one attention, whereas a big school you might get lost in like the group. Um, just like a visit. I know it's hard nowadays with what's going on, but like try to visit. You're going to spend 4 years with these people. You're going to spend a lot of long nights with the students you're going to school with. So I'd say those things are very important.
Let's talk about mentors. So I found over my career that you can't really just have one mentor.
No.
We're very multidimensional people just in general, and then designers specifically. And I think you need different mentors for different aspects of your life. You know, your personal mentor, how do you interact, you know, your home life and your work life? How do you conduct yourself professionally in a professional environment? How do you conduct yourself as a designer? What are your ethical standards? All of these sort of different things. Do you have any mentors? How many do you have?
I have a lot.
Why did you pick them? What do they offer you?
Sometimes you don't pick them. They just kind of, I mean, I don't know if that's a bad thing to say. Like
No.
sometimes you don't pick them. My coaches, my teachers, like even my parents and like, you know, older family members, I consider mentors. Like you said, they all do different roles, but, and even at a small school, some of those like teachers do both life mentoring and like career mentoring.
Right.
Like Wilkes, our major especially, like you guys are dealing
Pretty
with our
hands-on.
yeah dealing with our personal problems while you're also trying to critique our like senior projects.
Yeah.
So yeah, like just, you know, coaches I've had, teachers, there's so many, like I would say at least 10 to 15 mentors.
What was your favorite class outside the major?
Outside the major,
Like, what did you find the most enriching? Like, because I think not a lot of people go to liberal arts colleges to become creative. Some people go to just really ultra focused design schools or art schools. And I am someone personally who believes that there is a benefit to a well-rounded education and sort of knowing as much as possible before you move into any situation. So what do you think, like, what was your favorite or you feel like most beneficial class outside of your major, outside of your creative classes?
I don't know if I could pick a favorite. I really didn't like gen eds, but they're a part of it. I mean, they're a part of it. Like, that's just me being pretty honest.
Yeah.
You have to do it.
Yeah.
There's going to be things at your creative work job when you're done with this that you have to do that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
So I would say my favorite and most beneficial gen ed would be Colonel Castor's Earth Science class, because we did some cool experiments in there. I'm not a science guy. I just feel like we did some cool experiments. And we took some field trips. So field trips in college is pretty cool. And we learned about the environment a lot. So it made me really aware of like what's going on in the world. So, and he's a really cool guy. If you guys are looking for anyone to be a mentor going into college, I would look for Colonel Castor.
Yeah, he's really great. And he's our military counselor as well. So anyone
He helped me
coming
with
in,
that.
anyone coming in either on a military scholarship or just as a veteran has that option. And he's so great. He's just so helpful and wonderful. All right, so parting words. I think we have hit the end of our time. So parting words, what would you know, anyone watching this video, what's important for them to know, either about you, your career, your path? What's the big thing?
I would say that, yeah, college will help you, but you also, like, I don't know if a lot of people are prepared for the reality that you have to push for it yourself in a way. College is there to help you, but this is the age where you have to go out and get it yourself, really.
You should put in the work. Yeah.
You have to. Our field's very competitive. What a lot of people don't see about me is like I'm sitting right here, usually at 3 a.m. finishing up work, and then getting up 9 a.m. to do it again. And that was the case during school. I would go to class all day, try to fit in, you know, friends and going out and classes and stuff. And then I would go home and freelance until it was like 2 a.m. You know, on top of design projects, which you guys know, I was sometimes struggle with the balance there, as Eric can say. But this is the age where you got to go out and get it yourself. Like, you're about to enter the real world. So I would say,
do the work.
You know, do the work. It's you got to do more than the normal if you want to be, you know, if you want to be great. You got to do more than the normal.
more than what's just, expected of you. You have to move, you have
Mhm.
to push forward and go above and beyond, for sure. Yeah. They don't just hand dope jobs at Fox Sports out to people who didn't put the time in.
No,
So.
no, yeah, I guess not.
Well, I think that about covers it. Thank you for coming and joining me today, Danny. It was good to see
Thank,
you.
thank you for having me.
All right. And what should we look at? What social channels should we check out for you? What are your tags and all that stuff?
Instagram and Twitter at Dan Devito 8, and that's it. You can find everything else on those.
Awesome. So follow Danny, follow us, follow DDMA, follow Wilkes. Just check us out. But all of this can't wait to see you guys in the fall.
Yep. See you soon.